Hey everybody, welcome back to Tekin Builds. My name is Ty Campbell, and today got a little treat for you guys. I have a brand new truck sitting on the table in front of me. This is the new Vanquish VS4-10 Phoenix. I was one of the lucky few that was able to get a hold of one of the pre-release kits. So I've already got this thing completely built. So we're gonna do this build series kind of backwards a little bit. I've already got the thing assembled. So we're gonna check out all of the awesome new features on the Phoenix. I'll let you guys know what electronics I ended up going with and just kind of cover a couple little tips and tricks on the build itself and just talk about how awesome this kit is. So the first thing about this kit that I think is probably the most important, and everybody's gonna ask, how much is it, Ty? So the VS4-10 Phoenix is gonna retail for $499. Now, wait a minute, that's way cheaper than previous VS4-10s, and why is that? Well, the biggest reason is the axles. The axles on this truck are a brand new F10 Portal. They are plastic, so these don't come with machined axles like the previous Origin Pro and Ultra kits. So that's one of the reasons why this truck is coming in at a lower price point. Personally, I think it's awesome. It gives everybody a great entry point into the VS4-10 platform, which is an amazing platform, and I just love everything that the guys over at Vanquish have done with this truck. But don't let that plastic fool you. They are actually very tough axles. I'm pretty impressed with the overall build quality of these. They also include brass inner sleeves. Now what those are gonna do is add a little bit of weight. They're also going to add some strength to that axle housing. So that's really cool that Vanquish included those. That's just one awesome little feature on the Phoenix. The F10 axles also have a boatload of steering. Check this out. Yeah. That's like 49 degrees or something. Like, it almost looks broken on that inner wheel whenever you get this thing fully cranked over. Oh yeah, and check that out. I got both servos sitting in unlocked position, so this thing's just freewheeling right now. Could probably tow it behind my RV or something. So the other thing about the VS4-10 Phoenix that I think a lot of us were most excited about was definitely the new VFD Twin Transmission. So Vanquish already had the VFD previous to this one, and basically this is a different transfer case setup that goes onto the back of an existing VFD transmission. Now what does it do and why is it called the Twin? It's called the Twin because it is twin shift. So you've got a dig servo that's going to control your rear dig and freewheel options, just like on the other VS4-10 with the VFDs. That was an option with the Hertz dig system. But the difference on the Twin is that you can also change the overdrive percentage on the fly, controlled via servo, to your front axle. So this has 6.5% overdrive. That's what all the other VS4-10s have in the transmission as a default gear ratio. And then they also have a 33% overdrive option. And in the previous VFD, you had to actually change the gear sets and the bearing retainers and all that to get your overdrive. Now on the Phoenix, you can shift it on the fly with a servo from your radio. So this truck actually has 3 servos in it, 4 if you want to run a servo winch. The shocks on this truck are different. They aren't the Incisions. They are a new shock design, and they have an 8mm bore. They are an emulsion shock, and they have a bleeder screw. So these actually come with the lower cartridge assembly. All the X-rings and the spacers are already packed up in there. So all you have to do is install the shaft and the piston, fill them up full of oil, give them a quick bleed, and they're ready to go on the truck. So I'm pretty stoked about these shocks. I like that they're a bigger bore. That should give us more damping, and I might be able to start running lower oil weights, because on the older VS4-10s with the Incisions, I was running like 90 weight and 70 weight in order to get the right rebound that I was looking for. In this truck, we might be able to go a little bit lighter. So let's see, we've done axles, VFD, the shocks. Oh, obviously, the body. This is a completely different body than we're used to seeing on the Origins. All of those had different iterations, basically, of kind of a Scout Bronco style body. This truck looks like it definitely takes some of its notes from maybe some Toyotas. I'm thinking maybe some FJ45. It really gives me Icon FJ vibes. So I definitely like this shell. It goes together just like how the Origins do, with the interior that bolts up in through the door handles, and you've got a dash. It's got some 3D parts. Cool little sticker sheet, and all those Night Customs goodies for the previous trucks should drop right into all that, and you can detail the interior out however you want to. The back end is a tube style, so it's got bed sides, so it looks like a regular old truck bed, but then you look at it from the back and it really highlights that fuel cell. Finally, we're actually able to see that, and it's got some really awesome cage work up in here, and you can see the shock towers. It still has the tail light buckets just like the other Origins, so mounting up a light kit is super easy. And on the front end, we've got, you know, your molded grille with the headlight bucket option on these guys. So there's actually an Incision light kit that is gonna go right into this truck, and you can control it off of the 3rd channel on your radio. We've got a shorter bumper with a fair lead built in, just like the other Origin bumpers we've seen. And the awesome thing about this is you've got your rear body pins, everything is hidden. You notice there aren't any on the hood. That's super awesome. So you've got 2 back here, and then this whole guy is on a hinge from the front. So ignore my light kit wiring, we're not quite done yet, but this lets you get in and swap your battery, and you only have to pull 2 pins. You don't have to take the whole body off, so that's a pretty sweet feature. And there is a through pin on the front, so if we yank this guy out, and then we can pull this long pin, the whole body can actually come off, and that lets us get inside and check out everything under here. So we've got a scale radiator just like we did in previous Origins. The inner fender liners on this one are actually a molded plastic, so I'm really happy to see that. These are actually part of what the body mounts into. This guy keys right through the 2 of them, and then the radiator is basically your core support for the whole front end. That's gonna hold everything together. There are cutaways. Looks like it's gonna be super easy to add some rock lights to the front end of this guy, so that's pretty sweet. And there are some little caps that cover that off. And this is the electronics package that I decided to go with. I went with a T440 for the steering servo and 2 T120 low pros for the shifting duties. It's completely overkill, but I want to have all Tekin in this thing. Gee, I wonder why. ESC, we went with an RX4 Element Proof. We're gonna run this system on 3-cell. I've got our new 3S4200 power cell. It's a soft pack, pre-wired with a 12 gauge and a Dean's plug. And then for the motor, I went 3100 kV, and I threw a 10 tooth pinion on this. The kit comes with a 15, but I'm a really big fan of gearing way down, and you get a lot better throttle resolution that way. So the faster the motor is spinning, the more throttle resolution you're gonna get down low, especially if you gear the thing down a lot. You start gearing it up and it might be a little bit jumpy. So we'll get into all that when I actually dive into the build videos. So yeah, overall I am super impressed with the Phoenix. I can't wait to drive it. Unfortunately, it's been pouring rain for like a week straight, but it looks like we're gonna get some nice weather here pretty soon, so I'll be able to take this thing out and hit the trails with it. Oh, and I totally almost forgot, the wheels and tires. It does come with the VXT tires and some really sweet plastic KMC beadlocks. I think they're the Machete. So I've got those still in the box, but I had some of the Method MR307s. These came off of actually my UMG when I switched to the KMC Panzers, so I held on to these and I knew they would find a home. I just have the regular number 4 hubs on here, and I think that is probably the smallest incision hub that you can put on the truck. If you do anything less offset than that, then you're gonna start running into some clearance issues on the portal boxes because of the internal ringing style on these wheels. Tires are axial Nitto Trail Grapplers. They're 4.75 inches tall and in the R35 compound. I definitely think that a skinny profile tire fits this body really nicely. These are a super scale tire, and I've got them on my JK, and I actually really do like the added challenge that they provide by having a narrower tread width. So, and they were just kind of the style I was after. Inside the tire, I've got Crawler Innovations Little Novas. These are 4.50 inch. They're a comp cut closed cell inner with a soft outer on the front and a comp Same comp cut closed cell, blah, 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 and the same comp cut closed cell inner on the rear, but a medium outer in the rear. And the reason I did that is that when you're climbing trails, you're climbing up over obstacles, a lot of the weight shifts to the back of the truck. So you actually want your rear tire to be a little bit harder. Normally, I like to go one step harder in the rear, and Crawler Innovations recommends the same thing on their website. So let's check out the drive shafts. So these are similar, looks like, to the Axial Wild Boar HD, maybe. These are actually, what are they, the IDS 10, I think they're called, which must be like Incision drive shaft 10 scale. That makes sense to me. I got no issues with these, honestly. I'll probably put Incision, the metal shafts, on here with the universals, just because metal drive shafts, but these are definitely some pretty stout plastic shafts. So unless you're running huge big block brushless power, I think these are probably gonna be just fine. And one thing I did notice about them is they have these cool little marks that line up with the actual pins, so you can keep your drive shafts in phase. Normally I mark them with a Sharpie, and I actually did when I was building this, because I didn't notice, but once I got the shafts built and on the truck, I was like, oh, there's these sweet little marks right here. So that helps you keep your drive lines in phase so that the CV joints, or in the universal joint case, aren't gonna bind up on each other during the rotation. Rock sliders, a little bit different. They're the same base boat side slider on the other trucks, but these ones are made for the Phoenix body, and they actually pinch quite a bit. You can see this guy has a lot of pinch to the front, and I actually really like that. You know, that gives a lot of just clearance up in the front end, and if you get up against something, you're not scraping fender. You can get a lot more tire on it. The links are all stainless, big old fatty links. They are all M4 rod end, I believe, and stainless pivot balls. So nice beefy link set on here, adds a lot more weight down low, which we're gonna need since this thing is Portal, so it's already inherently top heavy. So that's, I guess, a bench view of what the new Phoenix really has to offer. I'm really excited about this truck. I think Vanquish is gonna kill it with this one. I think people are gonna be really happy, and it gives a lot of room for customization. So this is a really awesome platform. You know, the chassis is tried and true. That transmission just is gonna add a whole nother level of drivability and functionality out on the trail. So I'm pretty excited to mess around with that and just see how much more fun that really makes a scale truck. You know, I've ran Dig a couple of times in the past, but I've just never really found myself using it that much. You know, the only third channel, fourth channel option I was using was the drag brake adjustment on the RX4, or any of the new Tekin ESCs that have the data port on them. So being able to lock up the rear end, plus change the drag brake, plus change the gear ratio in the front axle, this thing's gonna be awesome, and I'm probably gonna wear out the switches on my radio. So Phoenix, I don't really know where the name came from. I think it was one of the owners, something about Phoenixes from way back before the Vanquish days, and that was just the name they landed on. So I don't really think it means anything particular. It's just something that one of the owners has a close attachment to. So that's the reasoning for the name, and honestly I think it's cool. I think Phoenixes are pretty awesome, and the decal of the Phoenix is pretty sweet. So I could definitely see someone putting a big old Phoenix on the front of this thing and kind of going, you know, Trans Am style. So I think that's pretty much everything on this guy. Yeah, stay tuned. I've got build videos in the pipeline, and we'll start releasing those here pretty quick. So that's the Phoenix, and that's my electronics setup. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.